Yo! Next up, we got Dan Bilzerian has officially failed. Good riddance. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Sunny V2 back with another banger, hopefully. I haven't heard anything of Dan Bilzerian since before Andrew Tate popped off. But Dan Bilzerian walked so that Andrew Tate could run.
Nothing feels better than winning. People are patiently waiting to see you fail. Dan, you've lost 1 million followers in the last 12 months, seen your stock price plummet so low you had to take it off the stock exchange, and now spend the rest of your time copying Andrew Tate.
Yeah, we're gonna start a website called
No. Dan Bilzerian laid the groundwork for Andrew Tate to be Andrew Tate. What are you talking about? Dan Bilzerian had mansions, guns, girls, everything that Andrew Tate was about. What are you talking about, Sonny? What?
society.
While rambling about politics on Twitter. This is basically the definition of failure, and here's exactly how it happened. Dan Bilzerian took his company Ignite public at a price of $2.50 per share back in January 2019, a time at which his career was going perfectly. His Instagram was gaining 400,000 followers per month, he was living in a $65 million mansion, and most importantly, everybody believed that his lifestyle was real. That would be until July 2020, 18 months after Ignite started, when Dan fired Ignite's vice president, who then sued Dan Bilzerian for unfair dismissal, in the process completely exposing his phony business model. For starters, the lawsuit explained that Dan Bilzerian hadn't actually paid $65 million for his mansion, but the property was rather rented for $2.4 million per year. On top of this, it was shown that Bilzerian paid for the travel expenses of the rotating cast of models that permanently accompany Bilzerian wherever he goes, despite Dan consistently stating that the girls were there voluntarily.
Do you pay these girls to come?
No. That's, okay, so
that's the big misconception,
yeah, I'm
right?
addressing that on my app.
However, the craziest part of the lawsuit outlined Dan's strange expenses, including $75,000 on a paintball field, $40,000 on a rock climbing wall, $60,000 on a Star Wars gun set, $31,000 on pool renovations, $50,000 on a bed frame, $15,000 on a ping pong table, and $88,000 on a vault, just to name a few. It was also stated that some business expenses charged to Ignite were for household items, groceries, and luxury yacht rentals, with a different former employee stating Ignite pays for everything. Models, events, yachts. Dan would just have it wrapped with the Ignite logo, and all of a sudden it was an Ignite expense, and he would send them the bill. Pools, trampolines, the employee added. His personal events that had nothing to do with the business. Dan responded by stating, "Some journalist said Ignite was funding my life. Bitch, I've been going hard for 10 years and been famous for going hard for 7. I started Ignite 2 years ago, raised around 100 mil, and I own the majority of the company, suck my dick," although his arrogant response failed to dismiss anything, especially the company's atrocious financial reports. Dan had spent a total of $69 million during Ignite's first year in business, which was offset by only $9.7 million in sales. Given the previously mentioned lawsuit explained how terribly this money was spent, Ignite's stock price plummeted by almost 90%, from $2.50 to a low of 28 cents in October 2020. As the media began to report on Dan's losses, he'd respond by stating Uber is worth $80 billion. It has never had a profitable month since it started, and it lost over $5 billion in one quarter last year. However,
I mean, that is a fair analysis. A lot of businesses are unprofitable. There's a lot of non-profitable businesses, but there's a lot of businesses that are profitable. But especially in your first few years of making your business, you're going to be unprofitable unless you just get lucky as all hell.
Ignite's financial losses weren't even the worst.
You're lucky to break even within the first few years of your business.
Ignite only had an audience because of Dan's extravagant life, which as a result of the lawsuit had been exposed as rented. His lifestyle was once mysterious and intriguing, but it lost its edge as soon as—
You're an idiot if you buy a jet and you can't afford a jet. If you can rent a jet, that's probably what you should do if you can't afford to buy a jet. Is Sonny hating again? He was doing the same thing with what's-his-face. He was doing the same thing with the Drake video. He was doing the same thing with the Drake video, man.
People realized it was just another business.
Just hating on him for spending money.
The whole mega rich guy on Instagram shtick was cool in 2014, but by 2020, everybody knew it was complete baloney, which began to reflect in Dan's Instagram statistics. In May 2020, Dan almost completely stopped posting to Instagram, and by the end of the year, he'd begun to lose followers. In the meantime, the media speculated that he'd soon file for bankruptcy, to which Dan clapped back by tweeting a skeleton with the caption, "Or the dumbass journalist patiently waiting for for Ignite to go bankrupt. Dan was right, Ignite wasn't filing for bankruptcy, but that didn't mean that things were going well. After losing $69 million in 2019, Ignite lost a further $19.7 million in 2020, during which the media released another strange detail. Dan Bilzerian's dad was supposedly running Ignite from behind the scenes. Now this was a problem for one main reason. Paul Bilzerian was a convicted felon who was illegally prohibited from participating in publicly traded companies. He'd spent a year in jail for fraud in the 90s, leading Dan to pretend that they weren't that close.
I talked to him probably 4 or 5 times a year.
However, according to one article, Paul Bilzerian has taken a less shadowy role within the company, sending thousands of emails between himself and other top executives at Ignite. This was only speculation at the time, but if Paul was in fact running the company, he was starting to do something right. Despite losing $19.7 million in 2020, Ignite actually recorded a profit in their final quarter.
Is that not what I just said? Is this not what I just said? It takes a little bit for business to become profitable. You're not going to make money your first year doing business. That's just how businesses work. That's how every business works. This is just an example that I know off the top of my head. Rivian lost. They're down $11 billion in their first 2 years of operation in 7 years of production. I mean, not production, 7 years of being a company. They've lost $11 billion. So like, in retrospect, 69 million, then 20 million, and then you're making 3 million. That's not bad. That's not bad. It's a really good start. It's a really good start.
Leading Dan to tweet, Ignite announces a profitable fourth quarter. I guess the press and the dumb YouTubers were wrong, shocking, the reason for which being explained in a Forbes article. For one, Ignite cut costs, slashing a promotional budget by nearly 75%. Pandemics meant fewer parties, and for Ignite that meant a chance at profit. As economic conditions improved in early 2021, the price of Dan's stock began to recover rapidly, quadrupling from 28 cents per share in October 2020 to $1.13 only 1 year later. In the process, Ignite increased its revenue from $16.9 million in 2020 to $78.8 million in 2021, at which point Dan made the claim that he wanted to sell the company.
$2 billion would be nice, because then I get over $1 billion.
However, the chance of achieving this kind of money began to look unlikely, as the value of Dan's company began to fall off a cliff. The recovery made by Dan in 2021 was completely reversed throughout 2022, owed in part to one particular incident. The SEC is suing Ignite Brands Ltd for failing to produce documents as it attempts to pursue an accounting fraud investigation. According to the SEC case, SEC staff have uncovered information indicating that respondents may have filed public financial statements.
I don't know why he took this company public. That was where he went wrong. It was stupid as hell to bring that company public. You should have just kept that as a private company and had investors. That was so stupid.
That include false or misleading representations regarding revenues earned and recognized in the company's fiscal year ending December 1st, 2020. On top of potentially falsifying their revenue, the suit also revealed that Ignite was under criminal investigation for something unrelated. As a result, the stock was headed toward a new record low. However, Dan was able to fix this problem by removing Ignite from the stock exchange altogether. He provided no explanation for the company's removal. However, just 2 months later, media publication MJ Biz Daily somehow managed to interview Dan Bilzerian's dad, who said he is now serving as an unpaid advisor to his son's company and was speaking on behalf of Ignite because Dan was unavailable to comment. He'd state there is no reason to have a public company unless you intend to raise capital from public markets. Before going on to state, though Ignite was publicly traded, about 90% of the company's shares are owned by Dan and friends. Dan likely thought that
That's what I just said. There was no reason for that company to be public in the first place.
as a
There was
public
no
figure, he
reason.
should have a public company, although this structure provided no real benefit and instead delivered unwanted
Yeah, it's literally a weed company. Why would you make your weed company public? That is so stupid.
attention from
That is so
governing bodies
dumb.
and the media. Despite this, it was reported in March 2023 that Dan was still refusing to cooperate with governing bodies, and while Ignite's privatization means its income is no longer public, it doesn't really seem as though business has improved. Dan recently bragged on Ignite's Instagram by stating, "Best-selling vapes in South America," although the very top comment was, "Bro, I love you, but I never seen anyone smoking that." Ignite's Twitter page gets about 30 likes per post. The company's official TikTok page has under 4,000 followers, while Dan Bilzerian's personal social media isn't looking so healthy either. His main Instagram page is losing 100,000 followers per month, owed in part to his complete inactivity, only uploading every once in a blue moon. When he does post, all of the most popular comments state, "So sad you have to pay for having ladies around you, haha, lol, such a sad life, and I don't know why I still follow this dude." In January 2021, Bilzerian was asked, "Dan, why are you barely active over Instagram recently?" To which he'd respond with, "Cause I just finished the 25th edit of my book, it's finally done." Yet Dan failed to return to Instagram after the book's release. However, only a couple of months ago on the Skinny Confidential podcast, Dan gave an updated explanation for why he'd quit everything.
I just don't care. Like, I feel like social media is like a video game I beat like 8 years ago, and I'm like, everybody's playing the same game. I'm like tired of playing it. Like, I look at social media like a cancer. Like, to me, I think it's the worst thing to be happening to society.
I mean, that is fair. He's rich as shit, unless what people say is true. I mean, from the outside, it looks like he's rich as shit. Don't gotta worry about that. What do I need what does he need to pay attention to social media for? He already did that for like 10 years. He literally did that for like 10 years. He don't gotta do that no more. Especially, he's like a 45-year-old man, dog. He don't need to do that no more. He don't care. Especially if he don't care. People are always going, like, bro, he had like 40 million followers. He won. You win. Quit. You can quit.
So I just just cringe to perpetuate that problem.
Dan seems quite resentful over his social media career and is perhaps sick of being hated. However, I can't imagine his next venture will make that any better. After seemingly spending a bit too much time with Andrew Tate, Dan Bilzerian is working on his own alpha male course and website called Sigma Society.
The thing I'm working on right now is a site where it's basically gonna like teach guys kind of like
Sigma?
With that, yeah,
Sigma?
Yeah, it's gonna like teach guys how to be guys. You know, I feel like this generation has kind of like lost that.
And while such a venture would surely find an audience, it feels like a last-ditch unoriginal money grab, which is almost always a sign of having nothing left to offer.
I mean, did he really have anything to offer in the first place? All he did was flex. Like, that was his personality, was it not? He was just flexing. So what did he really offer in the first place? I feel like him doing that is actually bringing more value than he was ever bringing prior. So, I don't know. I think Sonny might have just needed a video this week. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think about it.